But somewhere deep inside, outra voz sparcou com curiosidade about reflecting on aspirações long buried. Would she be negating herself healing se she did not explorar this potencial path? Suddenly, no surto de pensamentos, lei sliver de realização. Sarah recordou seu latente desejo de nutrir outros, de ser aprensa em someone's life que trouxesse conforto e cura. Could this moment be the shift? Ok, she said, seus verbos tremendos, mas deliberados. Let's talk. Maybe there's something to explore. Good. Mark sorriu, sua expressão shiftando em encorajamento que suavizou as inseguranças de sua incerteza. As eles exchangeram contact information, Sarah sentiu tidal wave de fear wash over her. What if he promised more when he could deliver? Yet, exilariação trumbava debaixo da trepidação, clamando a ser a conhecida. This wasn't merely a conversation, era uma chance de alinhar com suas strengths, uma chance de explorar a possibilidade de diferente life, beyond os confins de seu current existência. As 10 tornaram-se noites, Sarah fazia-se retornar àquele momento pelo outreach, a delicada tensão entre seu dream e realidade, ignitando otimismo no pit de seu gato. She envisionou nursing, children, em uma carreira que não traísse seu resolve, mas em vez disso fortificasse sua independência. However, lurcando debaixo de sua bravado, veram shadows de dúvidas. Could she truly balance learning, motherhood and part-time jobs? Would she stumble and fall? Em ansiosa antecipação, Sarah sentou-se para preparar sua upcoming meeting com Mark. As ser pen scratched a pad filled with questions, uma particular noção gripou-a tightly. Could this be the break she had longed for? Or would it all fall apart, leading to another lesson in disappointment? The answers awaited, just como she anticipated. O momento de reckoning was upon her. Uma sharpa parábola que poderia ou elevá-la ou deixar-a comprometida com chatadas expectativas. O momento que ela deveria enfrentar a verdade de seus desejos está crescendo niera. Would she embrace it? As o clock ticava towards her meeting com Mark, Sarah's mind was a torrent of conflicting thoughts. She fought against the pulsating rhythm of anxiety creeping up her spine. Cada tic ecoava dúvidas do que seu conversation poderia significar, não só para suas aspirações, mas para sua identidade. Glimmers of courage danced within her, urging her a step forward into the unknown. Yet a persistent whisper loomed over say thoughts, questionando sua readiness for whatever lay ahead. What if the support she sought from Mark only deepened her reliance on others? She had built sua life on independence, on crafting a robust facade of self-reliance. Was she ready to fracture that image? When the clock struck the hour, Sarah tomou grande respiro e arrivou a seu meeting place, a modest café nestled in the heart of the city. A familiar aroma de café filled the air, mingling with the chatter of other patrons. This was her moment. Yet it also felt like a stage set for potential embarrassment. Mark waved from a corner table, his presence calming and inviting. The moment their eyes met, a silent bolt of recognition passed between them, as if both had been grappling with similar uncertainties. She approached slowly, each step a mental negotiation. "Hi, Mark," she said, her voice steadier than she felt. She slid into the seat opposite him, unearthed confidence darting through her. "Thanks for meeting with me." "Of course," Mark leaned forward, his demeanor genuine. "I admire your drive. I thought we could brainstorm some avenues for support that align with your goals." As they delved into a discussion about potential opportunities, Sarah found herself immersed in the dialogue. Mark wasn't just throwing options at her. He listened deeply, his questions prompting her to crystallize her own visions. For the first time in a long while, she voiced her ambitions aloud. Nursing, a stable career that allowed growth and fulfillment, and, more importantly, a future where she could provide for her son. "Have you ever considered how your experience as a mother can translate into your work? Your empathy and resilience are incredible assets," Mark posited, prompting a thoughtful moment from Sarah. She hesitated, grappling with the notion that her life experiences could indeed shape her professional journey. Her struggles, moments of exhaustion, and unyielding love for her child had equipped her with a unique perspective. Suddenly, it felt more like an asset than a burden. "Maybe I have," she replied, her voice filled with newfound strength. "Every challenge has taught me something valuable about care and support." Mark nodded, an encouraging smile spread across his face. "Exactly. You can bring that to the nursing field. It could shape your approach, making you exceptional at what you do." His words hung in the air, seasoning the conversation with a richness that inspired her. The weight of his belief buoyed her spirits. The fear of not being good enough began to wane, replaced by a simmering excitement over what she might achieve. As they discussed various programs and resources, each suggestion ignited flickers of hope. It began to dawn on her that this dialogue was more than just planning. It was a transformative experience, tethering her current struggles to a vision of possibility. However, doubts still clung to the edges of her burgeoning optimism. Mark's supportive presence was invigorating, but was this just a fleeting moment? Would she find the resolve to carry this momentum beyond the cafe? She could feel the tether of fear just as the pull of motivation. As their conversation drifted towards the logistics of schooling and financial aid, Sarah realized that tackling the particulars required her overcome not only practical challenges, but her own inner narratives. A sin cruel stoked, a flickered the fear within her. Independence had been her mantra, but did that mean she couldn't accept help when it was genuinely offered? As she grappled with this, she recalled the camaraderie shared with other mothers she met in various parenting groups. Could the connection forged through shared experiences replace her perception of weakness with a foundation of strength? Arriving home, the coiled tension in her chest slowly unwound. Her son greeted her with a bright smile, his laughter cascading like a gentle reminder of her purpose. She knelt down to his level, enveloping him in an embrace filled with warmth and determination. "We're going to do something special together," she said, surprising even herself with a sense of excitement. Later that evening, as she juggled dinner prep and bedtime stories, inspiration struck. She grabbed a notebook and wrote her first plan: nursing school registration. She laid out actionable goals, timelines, and even budgetary allocations. Each line breathed life into her aspirations, turning nebulous dreams into concrete strategies. This was about more than education. It was about establishing a legacy for her son, showing him that dreams could be pursued fervently and methodically. Yet, as she plotted the course, the specter of her insecurities loomed. What if she struggled to balance her studies with motherhood? Could she withstand the emotional toll? She paused, pen hovering over the page, and considered Mark's words again. Failure was a lesson, a stepping stone. In that moment, she decided that failure would not be a deterrent. It would be an invitation to learn. Her resolve hardened into a mission that would require both focus and flexibility. She envisioned the nursing career that awaited her, but for the first time, Sarah contemplated the possibility of setting boundaries, balancing her ambition while nurturing her relationship with her son. Each decision would ripple outwards, shaping not just her future, but theirs. Eventually, the day came when she took her first step into the nursing program application office, a surge of adrenaline propelling her forward. Standing inside, surrounded by the hum of ambition embedded in the walls, she felt the weight of her independence shift. She wasn't just stepping into an institution, she was stepping into a community of aspiring caregivers. Perhaps support didn't mean becoming dependent. It meant joining forces with individuals who shared her goal of making a meaningful difference. With her application in motion, Sarah stepped outside, the atmosphere charged with possibility. Yet, beneath the exhilaration, curiosity stirred. Would she manage to cultivate a social network that supported her growth? As doubt nibbled at the edges of her confidence, she resolved to build bridges rather than walls. She took a deep breath, preparing to call Alicia, a fellow mother she'd met in her local parenting group. Her instinct screamed that potential collaboration awaited, an opportunity that could enrich not just her journey, but also provide the mutual encouragement she had previously resisted. With a mix of determination and hope in her heart, she initiated the call. As the phone rang, Sarah found herself embracing the exquisite tension between fear and aspiration. Would this connection prove to be the key she needed to unlock her fullest potential, or would it merely serve to highlight her shortcomings? The answer awaited on the other end of the line, tantalizing and uncertain, a challenge she was finally ready to confront head-on. The phone rang in a tone that seemed to reverberate through Sarah's being, each ring igniting a swell of anticipation. As she waited, she pressed the notebook against her chest, the ink still fresh and buzzing with potential. When Alicia picked up, Sarah felt like she was standing at the brink of a new chapter, her mind racing with the possibilities. "Hey, Sarah!" Alicia's voice was bright and inviting, cutting through Sarah's trepidation. "Hi, Alicia. I hope you're doing well." The words spilled out, almost awkwardly, her nerves tangling with the excitement. They exchanged pleasantries, but Sarah felt the conversation shift as she approached the idea lingering at the edge of her thoughts. "Alicia, I've been thinking about nursing school, and, well, how we could support each other. She stumbled, but the spark of clarity ignited within her. It was time to weave her aspiration into reality. Would you be open to studying together, or maybe working on our applications side by side? There was a pause, and for a moment Sarah could hear herself breathe. What if Alicia didn't share her fervor? But the response was swift and warm, filling the air with validation. That sounds perfect. I've been feeling a bit overwhelmed with everything. It's nice to know I'm not alone in this. A wave of relief washed over Sarah, a tangible reminder that connection could be an anchor rather than a weight. They set a tentative schedule for the week ahead, each committed to carving space for collaboration amidst their busy lives. As they hung up, Sarah reflected on the emotion coursing through her. This was more than a simple study group. It was a declaration of intent. She was ready to be seen, not just as a mother, but as an aspiring professional. Yet there lingered a hint of apprehension. Could this route lead to new friendships? And what if her insecurities peeked through the cracks? The next few days unfolded in a flurry of activity. She implemented her plan with determination, marking deadlines on her calendar, rifling through resources, and diving into forums for nursing students. The rhythm of her life gained a pulse of productivity, yet the specter of doubt haunted her. Was she truly capable of balancing it all? The deeper she plunged into her studies, the more she discovered surprising strengths within herself. Each chapter she tackled in anatomy strengthened her resolve, while quizzes brought a rush of victory that filled her with pride. Late nights spent poring over material became a testament to her endurance.
She realizou que não era mere ler about nursing. She estava encobrindo novo resiliência, senso de identidade que estrechava além de mãe nova. Then, inspirada por sua blossoming confidence, she decided to share her progress with Alicia. They began to exchange tips and resources, transformando their initial meetings into platforms for discussion and vulnerability. On one particularly late evening, as the sky darkened outside her window and her son slept soundly, Sarah sent Alicia a late-night message discussing her struggles, not just with the material, but also with self-belief. "Do you ever feel like you're pretending?" she typed, her fingers hesitating over the send button. Once she hit send, a rush of anxiety coursed through her. Was she being too frank? But within minutes, Alicia's reply illuminated her screen, and her heart quickened as she read, "Absolutely. Every day feels like I'm trying to convince myself I belong here." In that moment, a bond fortified by honesty began to form, revitalizando Sarah's connection to both her mission and Alicia. They weren't alone. They were navigating this path together. As they progressed, Sarah began to contemplate her ultimate goal. Would she marry one to survive nursing school, or was there a greater vision? Could they organizar study group, perhaps reach out to others? The next decision loomed before her, a tangible step that held promise but also required courage. Would she propose the idea of a wider study group among other mothers, riscando a possibilidade de rejeição para o saque de largeiro emocional suporte? It could transform the landscape of her journey completely. As Sarah mulled over this prospect, her heart raced with a mix of excitement and uncertainty, ready to confront both the opportunity and the fear that came with it. How would she frame this new idea to her peers? The possibilidade de expandir seu network felt invigorante, mas as stakes felt high. Com resolve brimando within her, she grabbed her notebook once more, pen poised above the fresh pages. This was not just about her future as a nurse. It was about defining her role within a community shaped by shared dreams. The moment of truth arrived as she began to write, weighing cada word com careful thought. Would this iniciativa ser a chave para desbloquear not only seu potencial, mas coletivo empoderamento? Era hora de espalhar suas asas. A manhã-sol encastilhava pelas besuras da sua mesa, deixando raios dourados pela mesa bagunçada, onde livros meio abertos pilavam alto ao lado de seu anotado mais querido. Ela espreguiçou-se com o prospecto exilante do dia à frente, mesclado com toque de dúvida. O ar estava denso com determinação ao preparar e-mail para propor seu study group. Mas, ao sentar à mesa, o cursor biscando mocanamente, Sarah sentiu uma onda inesperada de vulnerabilidade bater nela. Será que as outras mães nem estariam interessadas?
Would they see her as an impostor, Marion dreamer flirting with ambitions too grand for her realidad? Each thought pushed her further back from the keyboard, hesitation clawing at her resolve. Then, in a moment of clarity, Sarah stood up, paced across the room, and took a deep breath. She needed to confront these doubts head-on. She realized this wasn't just about others' perceptions, but about her own commitment to growth and self-empowerment. With newfound conviction, she returned, sat down, and opened her notebook. The first words she jotted down were, "Dear moms, let's empower each other." The phrase lit a spark inside her. It was a reminder that vulnerability could cultivate strength, and she wasn't seeking approval, but rather crafting a partnership rooted in shared goals. As she tapped away at her keyboard, ideas flowed freely, and soon she had outlined her proposal. The email emphasized collaboration, mutual support, and the comfort of learning alongside others who understood the complexities of juggling family and education. She imagined a circle of women sharing resources, strategies, and encouragement, their laughter replacing the weight of isolation she often felt. Once she hit send, a surge of adrenaline filled her body. This was a transformational moment. The act of putting herself out there pushed the boundaries of her own fears. Within minutes, Alicia responded enthusiastically. "I love this idea. Let's include Stephanie and Rachel too. We can make this a real thing." Every ping of her phone from that moment felt like a pulse of energy, affirming that she was not alone in this journey. The group came to life, each of them bringing their own struggles and triumphs, creating a tapestry of shared experiences. They decided to meet every Saturday morning, coffee in hand, laptops open, each determined to support one another through the rigors of their nursing aspirations. As weeks rolled by, Sarah found herself thriving in the collaborative atmosphere. The first few meetings saw them poring over textbooks, quizzing each other on anatomy, reveling in collective problem-solving. They delegated study areas, and soon each woman uncovered her specific strengths. Alicia had a talent for explaining complex concepts, while Rachel had a knack for keeping everyone organized. They began to host informal workshops, crafting a nurturing space where errors were encouraged as stepping stones. This unexpected camaraderie began to chip away at Sarah's insecurities. She not only gained knowledge, she was finding her voice. She felt she could contribute meaningfully and began to envision a future where she wouldn't just be fulfilled personally, but professionally as well. The transformation was palpable, and with every shared challenge, Sarah nurtured her burgeoning confidence.
Yet beneath this newfound confidence lurked a deeper question. Was she ready to confront the potential criticisms and judgments from other peers, those outside their small circle, who might view her ambitions as unrealistic or frivolous? As the group flourished, Sarah's internal conversation shifted. Could she challenge herself further? The risk of vulnerability now felt intoxicating. Should she volunteer for a healthcare project in the community, one that directly confronted the larger implications of healthcare access? The thought rumbled through her, a call to action she could hardly ignore. This could extend her influence beyond her close-knit circle. But the specter of fear crept back in. What if she was stretched too thin? What if failure stared back at her with harsh eyes? She found herself standing at yet another crossroads, staring down the path of potential growth, but this time it felt different. A grounded awareness, supported by the solidarity of her peers, lingered in the back of her mind. With resolve, she returned to her notebook, pen poised once more. The words she wrote were a testament to her growth. What if this is my moment? The answer hung in the air like unspent energy. But in that moment, Sarah knew one thing. The next few weeks could shape not only her future, but challenge her limits in ways she had yet to comprehend. What lay outside her comfort zone was an adventure she was now willing to embrace. Would Sarah take the plunge into this daring initiative, risking comfort for something greater? The question lingered like an unfinished sentence. Sarah stood in her kitchen, scrubbing yesterday's dishes while her mind raced with possibilities. The email about the healthcare project pulled at her thoughts like an undertow, threatening to drown her in anxiety. Could she really step into a public role and use her newfound confidence in such a bold way? She rinsed the plates mindlessly, thoughts buzzing, until one phrase broke through the mental fog. What if this is my moment? Her stomach tightened. This was her chance to push her limits. Yet the shadows of doubt flitted through her mind. What would others think? As a mother and a student, could she really juggle yet another commitment? She wiped her hands, suddenly filled with restless energy. Tension prickled like static across her skin. Every Saturday meeting with her study group had infused her with a sense of purpose, but now she felt a stark contrast brewing underneath. Rather than serving as a simple fellow student, this project had implications for her community, something much larger than her small circle. It felt like a reckoning, an invitation to embrace her ambition rather than shrink back in fear. Soon the decision seemed to weigh heavily. She took a seat at the dining table and opened her notebook, plush with unfilled potential.
This was more do que just projeto proposto. It was testamento a todos os doubts que ela havia superado, cada momento de autenticidade que ela havia embraçado. Seu pen rovava sobre a página enquanto conjura a gravidade do projeto em sua mente. Would she be leading a team, delivering workshops?
O próspecto exilarava e terrorizava-a em igual medida. She flipped to a new page, onde visão estava começando a ter forma. Em bold letters, she scrawled, Healthcare Access, rembrete do que havia esparcado sua paixão no primeiro lugar. This was about more than textbooks. It was about real people, famílias facendo dificuldades que ela entendia tão bem. A urgência de suas experiências repilavam por ela. Suddenly, she felt ready. Mas tal, as nagging vozes de self-doubt whispered. What if her efforts failed flat? What if she encontrasse pushback? Easier to stay in your lane, they seemed to suggest. Yet, as she captured her brainstorming ideas, a driving realization emerged. If she didn't take the plunge, she would nunca break free from the cycle of trepidation that had kept her from achieving her true potential. That evening, she gathered her study group for their usual session. Se eles passavam ao redor de café e abriam seus laptops, Sarah felt shift. Excitamento fezeu avaz as asas de estudo e o engajaram em láser. Com cada história de luta, Sarah's confidence ignited. They were each in their own battles, and together they stood as living estamentos à resiliência. At last, Sarah could no longer sit back. Se a conversa lulou, she cleared her throat. I have something I want to discuss, she finally said, her heart pounding. A hum quieted. I'm considerando taking on a healthcare project that focuses on accessibility em nossa comunidade. A resposta foi imediata. Alicia's eyes sparkled with encouragement, while Rachel leaned forward intrigued. How can we help? Stephanie's entusiasmo bled into the atmosphere, cada mulher exudando suporte e curiosidade. For the first time, Sarah realizou algo fundamental. As fés que haviam envelopado ela eram agora contracados por coro de encorajamento. Over the next weeks, sua inicial proposta morfou sobre seus coletivos ideias, uma fusão de seus hobbies e experiências. Meetings tornaram-se brainstorming sessions, e ao invés de suprimir doubts, todas juntas transformaram os ensaios acionáveis estratégias. This collective effort não apenas leiou as bases para uma iniciativa memorável, mas fortaleceu a segurança em si, em suas habilidades. Momentum built each passing day, mas o lurking ansiety de fazendo o outside world ainda lumava. Se eles finalizavam planos e assinavam tarefas, ao grama da visibilidade puxava a ela. Ela seria a dona de apresentar seus ideias em uma reunião de locais autoridades de saúde. A fé que havia antes paralisado ela ressurgiu, goendo a sua resolução. Could she realmente stand in front of others e share her vision? Would they take her seriously? The stakes had never felt higher, yet her heart raced not only with fear, but with readiness. As she closed her notebook that night, an electric mix of excitement and trepidation coursed through her. She was on the verge of something monumental, much larger than herself. With a profound inhale, she whispered, "What if I can change something, even if it's just a little?" The answer was poised on the horizon, flickering tantalizingly out of reach. Would this endeavor solidify her identity as a student and a contributor? With the dawn of the meeting approaching, Sarah's resolve would soon be put to the test.
It was only a matter of days before she would have to stand firmly in front of those who might judge her ambitions. Would she rise to the occasion, or let her doubts once again hold her back? The sun had barely risen when Sarah found herself staring at her reflection in the bathroom mirror, the shadows under her eyes betraying the restless night she'd endured. Anxiety tightened her throat as she rehearsed her upcoming presentation. This was it, the moment she had been building towards for weeks. Would she present herself as the hard-working mother, the committed student, or the passionate advocate she aspired to be? In the stillness of the morning, the echo of her heartbeat filled her ears. Pushing through the growing weight in her chest, she began to list the 3 points she wanted to emphasize: the impact of improved healthcare access on families, the testimonies she had gathered from her community, and her vision for the project's future. As she poured herself a cup of coffee, the bitter scent stung her senses, grounding her as she forced her doubts to the forefront. "What if I fail?" whispered the familiar voice of uncertainty. In response, she opened her notebook and traced the words "health care access" with her finger. This was about much more than her fears. It was about voicing the experiences of others who had felt powerless. Each name and face that floated into her mind, families she had met, stories that inspired her, fueled an ember of determination. Stepping into her role felt like donning a suit of armor. Once she arrived at the venue, an unassuming community hall, she could see the gathered officials milling about, unaware of her inner tempest. Sarah's heart raced as she mentally prepared, needing to convey an unexpected strength beneath the vulnerability swirling inside her. With every passing moment, the gravity of the impending presentation loomed larger. She was aware of her own heartbeat, echoing like a countdown. As she watched the hands on the clock inch towards her designated time, a small knot of warmth unfurled within her gut. "I deserve to be heard," she reminded herself.
When her name was finally called, Sarah rose like a marionette jerked by its strings, fighting the urge to shrink into the background. The podium felt foreign beneath her, but she planted her feet firmly. As she adjusted the microphone, she caught the curious glances of the audience, the flickers of skepticism and intrigue. There was no safety net here. It was just her raw voice against the realities she had gathered. Gathering her breath, she began. Her opening statement flowed out, startling her with its clarity. She spoke about the healthcare gaps pervasive in their community, the urgency of bridging them, and the tangible change her project could activate. But then came the stumble. An unexpected question from an official about the funding model. Panic surged like electricity, scrambling her thoughts. "What do I know about funding?" was the first thought that hit her. Yet, in the fleeting moment before she spoke, a deeper understanding began to surface. "I don't know everything," she asserted, an edge catching her voice. "But I'm prepared to learn. With your support, I can find the answers and make this vision a reality." Her honesty ignited a spark. It was a turning point, a declaration of her commitment that transcended her past doubts. The remainder of her presentation unfolded with a surprising cadence. The room shifted with energy as she gauged their responses. seeing intrigue painted across their faces. Even as questions piled up, she embraced the challenge openly, transforming fear into connection. Each inquiry was a chance to clarify, to deepen the conversation. As she wrapped up, a wave of exhilaration washed over her. She had done it. The feeling of aliveness was unlike anything she had ever encountered. The uncertainty morphed into exhilaration, leaving traces of lingering doubt in the dust. But as she exited the hall, laden with mixed emotions, she couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning. The stakes had escalated from presentation to real-world implications, tangible outcomes that could change lives. Her cell buzzed in her pocket. A message flashed. "Thank you for your time today. I look forward to following up." For the first time, the potential for impact felt imminent. "Now what?" she breathed, feeling the pulse of ambition reverberate through her. The next phase of this journey loomed just below the horizon, a realm of possibilities opening before her. Would her efforts lead to greater changes, or would new challenges emerge to test her resolve? The moment of truth was approaching rapidly, and Sarah could sense the critical decisions ahead. Sarah barely had time to process her presentation before the demands of reality began to swirl around her like clouds closing in on a summer sky. The anticipation of a follow-up ignited a sense of purpose within her. Yet the weight of unrelenting responsibilities crept back in, reminding her that success was often shadowed by challenges. Her cell buzzed in her pocket. A message flashed. "Thank you for your time today. I look forward to following up." For the first time, the potential for impact felt imminent. "Now what?" she breathed, feeling the pulse of ambition reverberate through her. The next phase of this journey loomed just below the horizon, a realm of possibilities opening before her. Would her efforts lead to greater changes, or would new challenges emerge to test her resolve? The moment of truth was approaching rapidly, and Sarah could sense the critical decisions ahead.
As she drove home, her mind spun with possibilidades, but lingering doubt managed to snag her attention. What will they think of me? She gripped the steering wheel, her knuckles white. The memory of their faces, some intrigued, others skeptical, zapped her with uncertainty. She needed to turn this fleeting moment of triumph into something tangible. She needed results. Walking through the front door of her modest home, the scent of evening air greeted her like an old friend. Her children, sprawled on the living room floor, were absorbed in their world of crayons and paper. The sight pulled at her heartstrings. The drive to forge a better future sharpened. Their smiles depended on her progress, on her ability to confront her situation boldly. She settled on the cluttered sofa, where a crumpled notepad awaited her chaotic life planning. Sifting through her notes, she decided she needed a strategy, a blueprint to transition her vision into reality. "I can't just wait," she muttered under her breath, horror flickering in her heart at the thought of being passive. These families need change now. The to-do list began to take shape, but as she wrote, an anxiety creeping beneath her skin whispered that she might be in over her head. Funding model, grants, pitch ideas, where do I even start? The unfamiliar language felt daunting, a foreign territory she hadn't dared to explore. She recalled snippets from a workshop she'd attended on non-profit funding strategies. Perhaps she could reach out to others who had walked similar paths. Exhaling, she resolved to make a list of local organizations and online forums that could provide guidance. Each name filled her with a sense of empowerment. These would be allies in her journey. But as her resolve grew, so did the shadows of doubt. What if they dismissed her? What if they told her, "You're just a single mom trying to save lives"? The thought crashed against her unwavering spirit like a rogue wave. Her internal monologue wrestled with her courage, but deeper within her, an avatar of strength emerged. This was about more than herself. It was about community voices rising together. Suddenly, her phone buzzed once more, jarring her from a spiral of self-questioning. It was a message from the official who had asked the funding model question during her presentation. "Can we meet next week to discuss your project further?" A rush of exhilaration shot through Sarah, fueling both her hope and her trepidation. What if this was the key moment? Just be yourself, she coached herself, absorbing the weight of the situation. This could be more than a meeting. It might be the catalyst she needed to propel her project forward. Her past failures and constant struggles seemed irrelevant in light of this new opportunity. She began to visualize the potential impact, imagining her initiative reaching families who had long suffered at the hands of a flawed system.
The meeting could spark collaborations, mentorship, and perhaps financial backing. But it also loomed as a moment where she would have to clearly articulate her vision, a moment fraught with pressure. Grit tightened her jaw. She was a mother on a mission, brave enough to face scrutiny head-on. As she began to plan her talking points, a knock on the door pulled her from her thoughts. It was her neighbor, a woman she had often shared brief hellos with, but never truly connected. Today, however, she looked weary and worn. "Can we talk?" the neighbor asked, her voice trembling slightly. Sarah felt her heart pull toward this sudden, unexpected moment. Was it a coincidence that she had just decided to forge ahead with her mission? Or was it a sign that individual stories matter, that voices needed to intertwine in a louder call for change? The choice loomed before her. Would this moment be a detour, or could it contribute to a greater unity of purpose? With determination flickering in her chest, Sarah took a deep breath, preparing to meet another story that could intertwine with her own. What would this conversation reveal, and could it fortify her path while simultaneously challenging her resolve? Every encounter felt pivotal now, pulling her ever deeper into a space where uncertainty gave way to possibility. As the door swung open wider, Sarah welcomed her neighbor inside, the warmth of their shared humanity eclipsing her earlier doubts. The heaviness in her neighbor's eyes hinted at personal struggles. Yet Sarah felt a strange connection forming, something reassuring in shared vulnerability. They settled on the couch, fragmented stories mingling in the air like strands weaving a tapestry of mutual understanding. "Thank you for listening," her neighbor said, her voice cracking slightly. "I've been feeling so overwhelmed lately, like no one understands." In that moment, Sarah recognized a fundamental truth. This was not just about her aspirations. It was about listening to each other, amplifying voices that had long been muted. Suddenly, the fears that had gripped her began to recede. Here was a chance to exchange insights, not just her own dreams of healthcare access, but her reliance on the strength of community connections. Sarah leaned in. I get it. We're all carrying burdens, but maybe that's what makes us stronger together. She shared her recent journey toward nursing, about the healthcare project she had envisioned, and how she hoped it would transform access for families like theirs. As her words flowed, an electric realization dawned. Her neighbor's story intertwined with the very mission she had cultivated. Do you think, her neighbor hesitated, the weight of the possibilities evident in her eyes, could we work together on something? It feels like there's a chance we could stand up for others who might be struggling just like us. The conversation flowed spontaneously.
They mapped out their frustrations, gathered anecdotes from Sil's neighborhoods, and sculpted ideas on how to create a community-focused platform. This synergy sparked a new flame within Sarah, the realization that her ambitions could solidify through collaborative efforts, extending beyond just herself into a movement of shared resilience. In the days that followed, Sarah found herself engulfed in a whirlwind of ideas and collaborative meetings. Emails flowing back and forth with her neighbor, brainstorming sessions laced with laughter, and a renewed sense of purpose propelled her forward. As she pored over potential outreach strategies, her anxiety about upcoming meetings with officials began to morph into exhilarating anticipation. This was no longer about singular achievements, it was about driving a collective vision. The scheduled meeting with the healthcare official rapidly approached. Gone was the girl uncertain of her ability, replaced by a woman defined by her resolve and the shared experiences she was bringing to the table. On the day of the meeting, with her notebook in hand, filled with strategies drawn from the very stories she had listened to, she felt prepared, armed not only with data, but with the voices of others echoing in her heart. This time, as she took her position at the table, she did so with confidence. She began by highlighting personal stories, painting pictures of families who had suffered under inadequate health care. Each narrative was a brushstroke, each statistic a paradigm shift. With each point made, she could feel the initial skepticism in the room shift. Then came the moment when the official turned to her, intrigued. "You've got a community behind this, don't you?" "Yes," she affirmed, the fire in her eyes reigniting. "It's not just me. There are others who have stories that need highlighting. Together, we can create a change that resonates far beyond this meeting." The discussions flowed, and where once there were walls, bridges began to form. Sarah noticed nods of agreement and engagement from those seated around the table. People who moments ago appeared distant now connected through shared goals within the vision she crafted. This was no longer just Sarah's initiative. It was a mosaic of ambitions, a community-driven force reaching for real solutions. As they wrapped up, the officials expressed genuine interest in her proposal. Promises to follow up echoed through the room, and as Sarah walked out into the bright afternoon light, a profound realization enveloped her. She had taken a leap beyond doubt. She had embraced vulnerability and transformed it into an empowered call for change. Days flowed into weeks as follow-ups materialized.
transforming Sarah's initial dreams into actionable plans fueled by collective engagement. She enjoined neighbors, single parents, and players from the healthcare field to participate, solidifying her role as a catalyst for change.
Looking back, she marveled at the journey, the fraught battles con self-doubt, the willingness to dare the unknown, your courage to ask for help, which had bloomed into an unstoppable movement. As a wave of fulfillment washed over her, Sarah realized not just how far she had come, but how invaluable facing her fears had been. She had achieved not merely professional growth, but personal transformation. She had become an advocate, empowered by the stories of others and her will to forge paths together. With a deep breath and a fierce sense of accomplishment, Sarah stood poised on the brink of an exciting future. Her confidence blossomed alongside the realization that she was now more than just a single mother fighting for survival. She was a symbol of hope, collaboration, and empowerment. This was her moment. No longer merely a fleeting ideal, but a trajectory lined with purpose and achievement. Now it is your moment to embrace transformation and growth. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and support incredible narratives. Comment your reactions and theories about the ending. Share your voice with us. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Don't wait even one more second to be part of this journey. True fans of personal overcoming stories understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.